Hi, welcome to Astro Journey UK. In today's video I'm going to be talking about a piece of kit that could be fantastic for you if you're getting into astrophotography. So if you'd like to hear more, then keep watching. So I got into astrophotography about 5 years ago in COVID. Anybody who is familiar with astrophotography knows that there's a very steep learning curve. And if you're getting into astrophotography, you probably will also know that there's a steep learning curve. You need to know and understand all manner of things in terms of cameras, dedicated astro cameras, mounts, filters, processing software. There's anything from pre-processing, stacking your images, to post-processing and being able to reduce the stars and enhance the images, etc. There's literally so much to learn. And that can be very, very daunting when you're first getting into the hobby. And that's where I think sort of smart telescopes have come into the market, and I think that's where they can help people get into the hobby, get interested in the hobby without spending a huge amount of money, and see if they actually like it and see if they want to then start to build dedicated astro rigs to get bigger and better images that you can print onto massive sheets of paper. That sounded terrible. So before I get any further into this video, I need to provide a disclaimer to everybody about the product that I'm going to be talking about, which is the SeeStar S30. So I approached ZWO. I was interested in this telescope and I wanted to take a look at it, play about with it and see what it's like as a scope. So they've not given me any money to do this. They've lent me the telescope to use and provide a review. They're not looking at this video, they're not approving it or anything like that. Fundamentally, this video is my opinions, my thoughts, no one else's, and they're not blocking me from sending out what I actually say about the product. So right, that's the legal bit out of the way. Let's get into the rest of the video. So I've mentioned smart telescopes already. So what is a smart telescope? So ZWO produce smart telescopes, as do other organisations, and essentially they are everything that you need in one sort of small portable form factor. So this is the ZWO SeeStar S30, and also there's a bigger sibling which is the S50. Essentially they do exactly the same thing. They just have different focal lengths and slightly different capabilities. But the S30, for example, the topic for this particular video, it has everything it needs in there. So it's got a mount in there to do the tracking of the night sky, to be able to keep fixed on the target as it moves through the sky. There's a telescope in there. There's a camera sensor in there. There's a light pollution filter, and also what comes with this scope is also all of the software to be able to control the telescope, point it where you actually want it to be pointed to an image of the night sky. It then handles all of the stacking, and then it also handles a little bit of noise reduction in the image, and also you can take that image and enhance it slightly within the actual software itself. So the idea is it's basically an all-in-one astro rig. So it's not really designed to compete against the rig that I've got in the background here, which is I've got William Optics Red Cat telescope there. I've got some ZWO cameras and filters and all of that sort of thing. It's not really aimed at that, and the learning curve to get to use that particular device in the background is significantly steeper than literally getting this. So what I'll do now is talk about sort of the setup of the scope, getting it up and running and ready, and then a little bit about using it, and then how I feel that this particular product is really useful for people that are beginning their astrophotography journey. So before I get into this video, I just want to show what actually comes in the package itself. So with the S30 you get a very nice carry case. Just unzip that, and then you've got the telescope inside. You've got a small tripod, very basic but very sturdy, and that just screws into the bottom of the telescope. You've got a USB-C cable, and then in the zip pouch here you've got a little instruction manual there, and more importantly, and a really nice touch with these telescopes, is you've got a solar filter as well, so you can do solar photography with this. You can do moon or lunar photography, sorry, and also you can do deep sky nebula photography with it. So nice package, keeps the telescope nice, safe and secure when you're moving it around and you're carrying it about everywhere. I think that's quite a nice setup, really. So what I'm going to show you here is just how quickly the SeeStar S30 is to set up. So you can see it's all wrapped up in its case, and I can even just spend some time talking about this, and I've got a video on the other side of the screen to show what a typical setup is actually involving and actually takes in terms of time to set it up. I will actually end up having to speed up the other test setup because it takes ages. So in the time it's taken me just to say this, the SeeStar S30 is now set up and pretty much ready to go. So just hit the power button. It's just going to power up now, and it will be ready in a few seconds ultimately. So now I'll just show you the SeeStar app itself that comes free when you buy the device. So once you've powered on the telescope, hit connect, it will find that telescope, and you'll see S30 and then I think it's a MAC address identifier. Connects the telescope using Bluetooth initially and then Wi-Fi. Once it's connected, you can then control the telescope from a good distance away. We're talking like sort of 10 meters or so. So everything's all connected and ready to go. You've got lots of menu options here in terms of stargazing, solar system, some scenery stuff, which is like daytime type usage, which I've never really used it, to be fair, only in testing just to see how far it actually goes. At the bottom you've also got a Sky Atlas, community and various other things. It's worth noting that each time there's a sort of an app update, then that will also synchronize an update with the telescope itself. You don't really need to think about any of this stuff. As soon as you open it up, it will say, oh, there's an update. You update the telescope there and then. It takes a few minutes and then you're good to go. So no worrying about synchronizing things, getting cables out, updating firmware. Everything all happens through the app. So in the actual settings of the telescopes, you tap on the telescope to get into the settings. You can change things like the volume, the anti-dew heater, put the image watermark and things like that. There's also some exposure time that you can change here as well. There's definitely an enhancement to providing equatorial mount configuration of the telescope now on top of just the alt azimuth mount as well. And in here is also where you can configure and calibrate the level and the compass calibration. So when you put it on a flat surface, if it's not quite flat, then you can kind of tweak it. One criticism I would say this over the SeeStar S50 is the S50 telescope tripod has adjustable legs on it, whereas the other one, the S30, doesn't, and it's a little bit more fiddly to kind of manage that. So now we've come into the Sky Atlas just to find something to image. Frustratingly, this time of year it's not too great from my garden. You've got sort of in the southern hemisphere, the Milky Way core is coming up around this time of year. However, that's in the direction of Birmingham, and lots of light pollution. There is a light pollution filter available within the actual telescope itself, so you just enable that, which is a dual narrowband filter, which is good if you're taking images of nebula and such like. You can filter out majority of the light pollution there. So in terms of simplicity of just being able to shoot what you want to, you just use the Sky Atlas, navigate to the point in the sky that you want to go to, tap on the go to button at the bottom, and then the telescope will automatically slew to that particular location. This is where a lot of the software is benefiting you here, so you don't need to do any polar alignment or any kind of setup really, just making sure it's level. You might need to calibrate the compass so at least it knows more accurately where north is. However, once the telescope is slewing, it will go roughly to where it thinks it is. It will take an image, it will do a thing called plate solving, which is take the image of the night sky, look at the stars that are in that image, compare that with the database of the stars, and then understand exactly where it's pointing and then compensate for that. And then once it's ready to start imaging, it goes through this initialization process. So it's essentially sort of taking some calibration frames in the form of dark calibration frames. So some of your calibration frames, for example, the darks, which is taking an image with the effective lens cap off, so you're just measuring the noise of the sensor itself. It takes that for the number of seconds which you will have the exposure set to, and then it can subtract that afterwards when it's doing the stacking. But that's actually sensitive to the temperature, so that's why it kind of does it every single time. And then also, as it states here on the screen, it's then going to do auto-focusing. So it's taking an image of the scene and just checking it for focus, and then it'll run through its autofocus routine. If you were doing this manually with a telescope, you'd use something typically like a batten-off mask to be able to get stars in focus. Again, that kind of takes time. It's another thing to learn, and so therefore that's why this is so great to get you up to speed, up and running in literally no time. I think anybody that gets one of these devices, they could literally unbox it like I've done today, plonk it down, point it at the night sky somewhere, and be imaging in a matter of minutes. It will be imaging in less time than it takes for you to set up a standard astrophotography rig. So here's the image that I've ended up with, which is nothing particularly spectacular. It's just an image of a star that happened to be visible from my back garden. I've got some other images of nebula that I've taken images of. I've done some lunar photography with this and also some solar photography. My challenge / excuse here is that I've got lots of trees in the garden, and the one clear night I had, I was only able to do this particular image. So you can see from what's on the screen here, it's taken a 10-second exposure here at the bottom, so you can see that little timer thing going around, and then each 10 seconds it will then add that particular exposure to the existing exposures that it has. It's doing a thing called stacking, and that stacking process is taking the calibration frames that it's taken before to subtract the noise that's coming from the sensor, and it's adding the light frames or the signal to then be able to reduce the amount of noise. So there's an exposure time here of 1 minute 20 seconds, which is really not that much in terms of astrophotography terms. So now let's just go through some of these images. So M42, the Orion Nebula, is very popular image to take in the night sky. It's nice and bright, nice and easy to take images of, and yeah, that's where the SeeStar does really well with really bright targets that you don't need a lot of integration time with. The next one is the Monkey Head Nebula. I think most of the images that I've got here are like sub 10 minute exposure times, so just put that into context. Typically the images that I will take will be at least 3 minutes per exposure, and I will take tens of exposures to add up to tens of minutes, hours worth of integration time. So that's why these images seem particularly noisy. Then you've got the Horsehead and Flame Nebula, all within the Orion constellation. The Rosette Nebula is also another reasonably bright target, and this still looks pretty good from a SeeStar perspective. I think it was using the light pollution filter, although there's still a bit of light pollution creeping in the bottom of the frame there. And then this next image is of the Heart Nebula. So you can't actually get the Heart Nebula completely within the field of view of the SeeStar, even though the SeeStar S30 has a wider field of view compared to the S50. The Heart Nebula is still quite a large target. So in order to be able to solve that problem, you can actually use the framing tool within the SeeStar software itself, and you can essentially zoom out, and what it will do is it will take and stack images that overlap to create a mosaic, and stitch that all together within the software to give you this final resulting image, which is pretty amazing really, because I've taken mosaics manually and they're actually pretty challenging to get to stitch together, to deal with light pollution and gradients and all of those sorts of things. So it's done a very good job of just stitching these images together in such a short integration time. And then you've got the Sol Nebula here as well, 40-minute integration time. It's still pretty noisy. And then finally this image here from it's the bottom of the North American Nebula, so NGC 7000. The image on the left is integration time of only 8 minutes, and you can see, yep, still noisy, but to be honest, I don't think trying to get noise-free images is the point here. The point is to be able to get your own images of the night sky, get that inspiration and get behind astrophotography and really get into it. To be able to see the things that you can't see easily with the naked eye, or even at all with the naked eye. So 8 minutes on the left hand side, and then with noise reduction all within the app, the same image on the right hand side you can see there. It's a lot less noise. It's going to be a bit of less definition in the image as well, but at the same time this is just to really, in my mind, get things going. Then I've got some images from a solar perspective. The first image is an image at the telescope sort of native resolution, essentially, where the sun doesn't fill the frame completely. Likewise, when you take images of the moon, it doesn't fill the frame completely either, and that's because the S30 has that wider field of view. You can zoom in a bit, but you're essentially kind of digital zooming really. However, you do still get some nice images of the sun and the moon, and here you can see the sunspots as well. So just finishing up with two images of the moon, so taken at the same time. One is the native resolution and one is zoomed in a little bit more so you can see some detail. It's also worth noting, with taking images of the sun and the moon, you can take videos and raw video from the telescope itself, and you can then take that file off the telescope using the supplied cable, and you can stack that video using free software that's available to be able to get a sharper image that removes some of the aspects and artifacts from the atmospheric sort of turbulence. So it's good to know that you can do that. Also, another option within this telescope as well is to keep the files that it's using for stacking. So by default it will throw those away and delete them to save space. But you can actually keep those files, and then you can then import them into software such as PixInsight. There's also some free software out there as well. You can pull those in, stack them yourself and process them yourself. So it's not a system such that you can only use the software that they've got and then you're stuck and you can't grow. There are elements where you can grow in terms of taking the images, using the telescope to do a lot of the grunt work in terms of setting up and all of that sort of thing, plate solving and getting images of the target that you want to get as quickly as possible. But also you can then take those images off and you can practice your post-processing techniques to get as much as you possibly can out of those images. So I think that's a really nice feature for them to include in the telescope. So after all of that, would I recommend sort of beginners into astrophotography buying sort of this SeeStar S30 telescope? I think fundamentally, yes. I think it does an awful lot to get you into astrophotography, to get you inspired, to get you enthusiastic, and to not get frustrated and not to get beaten by what is a very difficult hobby to get into, and a very expensive hobby. In terms of the actual cost of the device, it's cheaper than literally going out and buying like one camera. Putting all of that to one side, I think it's a fantastic thing just to get into, just to be able to take images of the night sky, share them with your family and friends, and just enjoy the hobby. The thing that I actually love with this particular telescope is, and also over the S50, so both of them are very portable, they're very easy to set up. The thing I really like is its portability, the fact that it fits into such a small case and you can just literally, not literally throw it into the back of a car, but you can put it in the back of the car and you can go somewhere. And if you happen to be somewhere with dark skies, you can just bring the telescope out and take some images and just enjoy the night sky. That compared to the rig again behind me, although that's relatively small, it still takes up some space, it takes time to set up. The SeeStars are incredibly quick to set up, and I just absolutely love that. So yeah, whenever I'd be going away somewhere, I would sort of pack my stuff for going away and then also just put the SeeStar in the boot as well, and I can use that if the skies happen to be clear. Overall, I would highly recommend it for beginners to consider smart telescopes, to be able to get enthusiastic about the night sky, but also some of the benefits in that scope allow you to take those raw files from the device itself and stack them and manipulate them, so you can begin to do more advanced astrophotography, still using this setup to get better results from it. So I think it's really good from that perspective. Okay, I shall leave it at that. I think this video is getting a bit too long now. So I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give a like, subscribe, thumbs up and all of that good stuff, and I wish you clear skies.